Today we're going to talk about a story that honestly feels like it was ripped straight out of a Hollywood movie. It's an incredible lesson in just not giving up, a tale of how a team stared down soul-crushing failure, looked bankruptcy right in the eye, and somehow still managed to change the world. This is the story of how SpaceX almost never happened.
And yeah, you heard that right. The early days of SpaceX actually involved vodka-soaked negotiations, getting spat on, and even a casual request for some clubbing money. It is a completely wild part of the story, and trust me, we will get to it. But believe it or not, that's not even where this whole journey begins.
That's right, it's October 2000, and Elon Musk is on vacation, watching the Olympics. When he gets the news, he's been kicked out as CEO of his own company, PayPal. And as brutal as that must have felt, it turned out to be a massive blessing in disguise, because all of a sudden, he was free to chase his real passion, space.
Now, Musk didn't just want to talk about space. He wanted to do something big. So he joins the Mars Society, this group full of scientists who are absolutely obsessed with colonizing the red planet. And he shows up with this totally radical idea.
He called it the Mars Oasis. The plan was to send a little greenhouse all the way to Mars and actually grow plants in Martian soil. The thinking was, if people could see life growing on another planet, it would get everyone excited about space exploration again. But, to pull off a vision that grand, you need one really important piece of equipment: a rocket.
So the team flies to Paris first, but the big established companies wanted over $100 million for a single rocket, which was just way too expensive. So they turned their attention to Moscow. The hope was they could buy some decommissioned intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, that were just lying around after the Cold War.
And this is where the story just takes a bizarre turn. What they thought was going to be a straightforward business deal turned into this surreal, vodka-fueled nightmare of post-Soviet negotiations. The meetings were, as one of the team members later said, fueled by vodka. He described how everyone had their own bottle, making toasts every 2 minutes until his colleagues were literally passed out on the table. In another meeting, a Russian official actually spat on Elon. And at one point, get this, the Russians even called to ask for $5,000 in cash so they could go clubbing. You can't make this stuff up.
Okay, so for a third trip, Musk brings in a space industry veteran, Mike Griffin, just to try and add some credibility. The Russians finally name a price: $8 million. The catch? That was for one rocket. Musk wanted 2 for that price. The Russians absolutely refused to budge, so Musk, completely fed up, just stormed out and headed for the airport.
So on that long flight back, while his team is probably just sighing in relief, Musk isn't relaxing. He's got his laptop open and he's building a spreadsheet. And what he figures out is just incredible. The raw materials to build a rocket, all the aluminum, the copper, everything, it only made up 3% of the total cost. And that was it. That was the aha moment. Musk realized the entire traditional aerospace industry was just fundamentally broken. It all ran on this cost-plus model, where contractors would just figure out their costs and then add a big profit margin on top. There was zero incentive to be efficient. And he saw it right then. He could just cut out the middlemen, build it himself, and do it for a tiny fraction of the price. The idea for SpaceX was literally born on that plane.
So with this huge realization, the entire plan shifts. Forget buying a rocket, he was going to build one from the ground up. But first, he needed a team. An A-team of brilliant engineers who were just as crazy as he was.
He found his lead propulsion guy in Tom Mueller, a dude so obsessed with rockets that he had built the biggest amateur liquid rocket engine ever in his garage. He was joined by Chris Thompson from Boeing and Hans Koenigsmann, an expert in making low-cost rockets. The core team was set.
Now, of course, he needed money. A lot of it. Luckily, PayPal was about to go public. The IPO was a huge success, and in February 2002, Musk suddenly had an extra $165 million in his pocket. Just a few months later, on May 6, 2002, SpaceX officially became a company.
But here's the thing. Building a rocket is one thing. Actually launching it into orbit is a whole other beast. And this is where the story enters its darkest, most difficult chapter. The company's first rocket, the Falcon 1, was about to face a series of failures that would push every single person to their absolute limit.
The first launch, back in 2006, ended in a giant fireball just 33 seconds after it took off. And you want to know why? A single corroded bolt.
A year later, the second try actually made it to space, but a wobble sent it spinning out of control. And then the third attempt, in August of 2008, it failed when the first stage tragically slammed back into the second after they separated. 3 launches, 3 crushing, heartbreaking failures. This was it. The company was on the verge of total collapse. The stress was so bad that Musk was reportedly waking up screaming from nightmares. He managed to scrape together one last lifeline, a $20 million investment from his PayPal co-founder, Peter Thiel. It was just enough money for one more shot.
So the stakes could not possibly have been higher. NASA was looking at SpaceX for a massive $1.6 billion contract to resupply the space station. But there was no way, absolutely no way, they'd get that contract without a successful launch. The future of the entire company, everyone's jobs, it all came down to this one flight.
And even then, the whole thing almost ended before it began. As the rocket was being flown to the launch site on this military cargo plane, the change in air pressure started causing these huge dents to form on its body. It was literally about to implode. In this unbelievable act of bravery, an engineer grabbed a wrench, climbed inside the rocket, and opened a valve to equalize the pressure, saving the entire mission.
Finally, launch day arrived, September 28, 2008. After years of hard work, after 3 gut-wrenching failures with absolutely everything on the line, the 4th Falcon 1 lifted off. And this time, everything worked. Perfectly. The rocket soared, the stages separated cleanly, and it successfully reached orbit. The control room just erupted. They had done it.
And you have to understand, this wasn't just a win for a struggling little startup. This was a monumental moment in the history of spaceflight. The reward for that success was, well, it was immense. A few months later, Musk is on a family trip to Disneyland, of all places, when he gets a call. It was NASA. SpaceX had won the $1.6 billion contract. The company was saved.
That one single victory completely changed the company's path. That desperate last-chance launch wasn't just an end to all their early struggles. It was the beginning of a whole new era in space exploration.
Because of that NASA contract, they finally had the money and the stability to develop the Falcon 9, the Dragon capsule, and to go after the truly groundbreaking idea of rocket reusability. Seriously, everything that SpaceX is today, from launching astronauts for NASA to building the insane Starship, it can all be traced right back to the sheer grit and perseverance that led to that one successful flight.
And it really leaves you with a powerful question to think about, doesn't it? The story of SpaceX is just this incredible reminder of what's possible when you refuse to give up, even when it feels like everything is lost. It shows you the unbelievable power of just fighting for one more chance.